Where are we right now?
We're in Michoacan with the butterflies, monarch butterflies, and you really can't see a lot of the butterflies, but the black clusters, those are the butterflies. They're sleeping right now because it's cold. It's also late in the year and global warming. So what do you think of the butterflies?
I think they're cool, and I think there's a lot of them.
You think there's a lot of butterflies?
Yeah, all those. Each of those clusters must be like 1,000 butterflies.
Yeah, but there used to be more. They used to be, like, everything used to be orange, and they were flying around, and it used to be much better.
But then global warming?
But then global warming. What do you think of Michoacan?
It's nice. It's very similar to what I've seen of the state of Mexico, Estado de Mexico. It's a lot more country, obviously, than the most forest I've seen since I came to the country of Mexico. It's nice.
I like it.
It's cold here.
It's colder than Mexico City.
A lot colder than the city. I think we're a lot higher up. Hey, I'm Evaric.
Hi, I'm Venezia.
And this is episode 1 of Exploring Mexico, where we're going to talk about our experience seeing the monarch butterflies in Michoacan. Yes. As you might know, monarch butterflies, they're famous for migrating all across North America. 60 million to 1 billion monarch butterflies actually migrate to Michoacan each year. They come originally from eastern Canada, and they come down to hibernate for the winter in Mexico.
And they go to California.
Yeah. So actually the whole reason I wanted to see the monarch butterflies in the first place was I grew up in Santa Cruz in California, which is actually where, well, another location where the monarch butterflies go to lay their eggs after they reproduce in Michoacan. So it's kind of really interesting that I've lived in all the different places pretty much where the butterflies go on their journey.
So we went at the beginning of March, which is when the butterflies go to Michoacan to reproduce. And yeah.
Well, if you're observing, you might notice it's taken us a long time to actually make this video, but yeah, so they actually arrive late in October or early November, which is actually right around a particular Mexican holiday.
Yeah, Dia de Muertos, which a lot of people have heard of. They probably don't know about the real tradition.
Yeah, she gets worked up about this.
Okay. And yeah, so that's about like the end of October and the beginning of November. Yeah, like they say that they come,
which in English means Day of the Dead.
Yeah, I thought I
say that.
Yeah,
okay.
Dia de Muertos, Day of the Dead. Yeah, 1st and 2nd of November. So yeah, by the end of October, early November, that's when they come. And yeah, they even say that they're supposed to be like the spirits of the dead, obviously. And that's like pre-Hispanic tradition, believe in that pre-Hispanic tradition.
Really? Was that Aztec then? Or?
Purepecha, is that the, yeah, I think,
that would make sense. Yeah, I thought that was cool and also kind of morbid that they were like, well, all these flying things are coming on the Day of the Dead, it must be the souls.
No, I think it's beautiful. Like Mexico, for some reason, is obsessed with dead.
I have noticed. So wait, so that is true, because I know one of the stereotypes about the Day of the Dead that you dislike is... We should get in. What's your problem with the Day of the Dead?
No, I just think people like glorify it without knowing what it is about, and they think that we make like huge parades and we dress up and all that, and that doesn't really happen. It's mostly about like going to visit.
In the movies, I saw the parades and the painted faces.
Yeah, they fooled me too. But no, I've never seen the parade. Well, I think they did one last year, which is very offensive because they marketed it as you saw it in the Batman movie or something like that. It's like
Batman, really?
Yeah, I didn't watch Batman. Yeah, we're getting off topic.
There are 4 Mariposa reserves or monarch butterfly reserves in Michoacan. We went to El Rosario, which is the largest one and the most visited one. It's actually 10,000 feet above sea level, which for me, Gringo, the altitude in Mexico City is already pretty brutal, so that I was pretty much out of breath the whole time.
And you're used to hiking.
Yeah.
I'm not.
It was.
So we had to hike to the part where the butterflies usually are.
That's true. We didn't actually have to hike the full 10,000 feet. We were already at some elevation by the time we got there, but it was how long do you think of a hike it was?
I think it was 2 kilometers.
Not that bad, but it is enough that a lot of people actually decide to pay however many pesos to ride a horse up the trail instead of
Yeah, you
hiking.
can do that. We didn't.
Yeah, but no, it's enough of a trek that a lot of people will take the horse. Your sister wanted to do that. But.
Yeah. She was like, I refused to walk there. She had to at the end. There weren't a lot of butterflies actually, even though it's supposed to be the biggest one. I think,
Well, when she says there weren't a lot, she means there were like 50 million instead of a billion, but...
I went to Michoacan. It wasn't the same reserve, but it was a different one. I went years ago when I was very little, and I don't remember most of it, but I remember that it was like much more spectacular. Like I remember the trees looked orange. Like I thought they were leaves at first. It wasn't quite like that this time. I mean, like you said, there were still a lot, and it was a really cool experience, but there weren't as many.
Yeah, I only have vague memories of when I went in Santa Cruz because I was like 8 probably. But same, I do remember there being a lot more than we saw this time, but we did go fairly late in the season, and even with it being a lot less, there were an unbelievable amount. At first it might not look like that much, but they cluster on the trees in these giant clusters that look like beehives or giant pine cones. They don't really look like butterflies at first, but once you recognize what they are, there are so many of them. Each cluster is thousands of butterflies clustering together to conserve heat and survive cold nights.
Also, yeah, actually it was a really cold day. That's one of the other reasons why. Well, really cold day for Mexico, of course. They even warn you when you're about to start hiking. They tell you that on cold days they don't really move. They just stay in their clusters.
But even so, like the clusters, it's insane how many there are. If you think about how heavy a butterfly is, they literally weigh nothing, right? Like less than air. But these clusters of butterflies sometimes get so big and so heavy they'll actually bend or break the branches they're suspended on. So if you think about that, like butterflies breaking a tree branch with a weight, that's pretty insane. And unfortunately, we did not experience this, probably because it was a cold day and they weren't moving around, but sometimes a gust of wind or something will disturb one of the clusters. They'll all take flight at the same time, and you can actually literally hear them. It sounds like light rain falling. There are so many butterflies flying at once, you can hear them flapping, which is pretty insane to me. Mm-hmm. It was a cold day. We went kind of late in the season, but also apparently 1/3 of the monarch butterflies that were supposed to migrate actually died before they even made it to Mexico. So
yeah, they, like experts, people who should know, believe that it's climate change. During the past years, a lot less butterflies have been arriving to Mexico. I don't know if this was like a record-breaking year for the amount of butterflies, but definitely one of the lowest.
Well, we asked the guy there about it. We didn't really get too clear of an answer though, did we, when we asked him like if it's actually a problem, like as far as the ecosystem's concerned, like is it a problem that so many less butterflies are there, or is it kind of there's so many it doesn't really matter if 10 million, 20 million die on the way?
I think he was nervous because he was saying that it was like such a big problem and that people were actually concerned. But then when we asked him if we could film him, yeah, we pretty much asked him the same questions, and he was like, no, it's not a problem. We have a lot of butterflies, and yeah, so he kind of contradicted himself.
Buenas tardes. ¿Hay menos mariposas ahorita de lo que generalmente hay?
No.
Generalmente es así, porque como estábamos comentando antes, la última vez que venimos estaba súper lleno. O sea, había muchísimas más.
Tenemos mucha mariposa. Tenemos bastante mariposa. Esta es una cuarta parte nada más. Tenemos otras tres partes como esta.
¿Como reservas?
You are a biology student, so in your opinion, how do you think this would impact the ecosystem? It can't be good, right?
No, it can't be good. Yeah, in my expert scientific opinion, I don't think it's good that butterflies are dying.
Alright, heard it here first. Hot takes.
We did see a lot of butterflies, like dead butterflies on the ground. And yeah, like at first we were kind of concerned, like, oh yeah, look at all the dead butterflies, that's probably...
It was a really sad first impression, like because it was cold, a lot of them weren't flying when we first got there. We just got to the top of the hill and it's like just a carpet of dead butterflies. And
But later we learned that it's supposed to happen.
again, amazing, but also very morbid at the same time.
Yeah, that's supposed to happen because, as we mentioned, they come to Mexico to reproduce, and once they do, the males die. All the males die, and yeah, actually, I found it really interesting. I didn't know that it serves another purpose, that they leave all their dead bodies and the pattern of the wings of the butterflies that guides the butterflies for the next year.
Again, that is really cool, but also when you think about it, it's like the next year all these butterflies come, they're like, oh, let's find the mass grave, let's find the mound of bodies of our dead kin, and then let's all get it on top of them.
But nature is amazing. Yeah, it is.
Okay, but what if I was like, we went out to dinner and I was like, hey, after this, let's go get it on top of a mass grave. Yeah, that's what I thought. No, it is amazing, though. I thought that was cool. I feel like to ever actually get like a full education about the monarch butterfly, you have to actually physically travel around North America, because I'd never heard of that happening when I was in California. In California, like as I understand, they reproduce in Michoacan, but then they fly to California, and that's where they actually lay their eggs. I guess like the pregnancy happens along the way.
Wow.
Yeah, imagine if you had to like fly carrying a baby, 1,000 miles or whatever. So they go to Santa Cruz, they lay their eggs there. So when I went on field trips to the butterfly reserve in California, they were talking about like, oh, like they lay their eggs on milkweed, and then here's the caterpillars, and here's how they grow up, and like we didn't hear anything about any of that here. Here they're telling us about
until you told me.
Yeah, so to actually get the full story, you probably need to physically go to each location. It's
Or
like,
watch the video.
we had a pretty limited window of time. We might be YouTube stars in the making, but we do both have day jobs. So yeah, we had a pretty limited window. We wanted to catch the butterflies. Unfortunately, we basically went like right across the edge of Michoacan. We didn't really see any of it.
Oh yeah, because the sanctuary for the butterflies are on the edge of Michoacan,
Yeah, on the border.
and part of the state of Mexico, Estado de Mexico.
Yeah, so we barely went in. We saw a little of the local culture. There is kind of like villages around the reserves, but I mean that's kind of like built for tourists who come to see the butterflies. So yeah, really we didn't experience much of Michoacan, but since we went there and this video was all filmed there, we wanted to talk a little about it. So Michoacan is actually a Nahuatl word. I hope I'm saying that.
Nahuatl? Nahuatl.
Which is the language of the Aztec Empire. Nahuatl was actually what they called themselves, the people we call the Aztecs. It was a collection of the Nahuatl and then all the peoples they conquered. So it's a Nahuatl word meaning place of the fishermen, because Michoacan back in those days was actually just like, that was their industry. Everyone there fished. They had a bunch of lakes and that's what they did. Being a gringo, I had no idea like what to expect of Michoacan, what it was known for. Surprisingly, when I asked Venezia, she actually had no idea. Estado de Mexico, they have the pyramids. In Guadalajara, the Virgin Mary has her summer home. In Oaxaca, there's all the rainforest and stuff. In Chihuahua, there's dogs and drug lords, and yeah, you know, you have all these like, even if you don't know a lot about Mexico, you probably have an idea of what Cancun looks like. Yeah, even she didn't really know what Michoacan was known for.
Well, butterflies.
Other than butterflies, yeah, and that is a big thing. What I found fascinating is apparently some of that is actually deliberate. So Michoacan, like it is known for its natural beauty. The forests there were just beautiful. It's the most trees I think I've seen since I came to Mexico. And yeah, so it's known for both its natural beauty, and it does have like a very authentic traditional culture. The people there in a lot of ways are still living very similar lives that they would have been living like 1,000 years ago before the Spanish came. And it's actually the landscapes, if you put them side by side with a place like Cancun, like they're just as beautiful. The difference is that the people of Michoacan have actively like made efforts to resist industrialization and overdevelopment and tourism, and that kind of explains why we didn't know what was there, because they don't want us to know what was there. They just want to kind of live their lives, and I think that's cool. And I hope by making this video I'm not drawing tourists there that they don't want, but
Don't go.
no, go in small groups, don't, take only photos, leave only footprints, that, yeah. We had to do a little research and digging around, but we did find some things about Michoacan. It's actually, so it was the seat of the Purepecha Empire, which was one of the Aztecs' rivals at the time when the Spanish arrived. Obviously, the Spanish ended up conquering everyone, but before that, the Aztec Empire and the Purepecha Empire were two different empires.
And it was also very big.
Mm.
Very important, yeah. And I mean, even I didn't know this, but a couple of really important historical figures for the independence of Mexico were born there. So Morelos, Jose Maria Morelos y Pavón, and
Which is funny because actually, just south of here, there's a state named Morelos, so I would have
yeah, it
figured
was
that's
very important. Yeah,
okay.
that's weird. I
That was
had
a bit
no
of a
idea.
shock. Morelos was not born in Morelos, he was born in
Michoacan,
Michoacan.
and his wife,
Really?
yeah,
So,
Josefa Ortiz de Dominguez. Yeah, that was her name. I'm not
For-
great at history.
for our gringo audiences, what was Morelos known for?
Well, he pretty much planned the movement of independence from Spain. I think you probably know as much that Mexico used to be a Spanish colony.
I'm sure you've heard of it, you probably don't know a lot about it. I can tell you that, we think well, if you're American, you think our Revolutionary War was a big deal. If you're Canadian, you literally just ask permission to leave, and England's like, whatever. The American Revolution is made out to be such a big deal. I can tell you now that even from the little I know about it, it's nothing compared to the craziness that went down during the Mexican Revolution. It was literal Illuminati stuff. If you know the conspiracies with the Illuminati and all these one world government and stuff, that was literally going down in Mexico. They had, what was it, tea and book clubs is what they were called? People went and met behind closed doors in these tea and book literature clubs to review books at the time. But then secretly, yeah, in Hidalgo, and secretly they were plotting the downfall of the Spanish Empire and arming the populace, and it was
Really cool.
and it went on for there were separate incidents, but it went on for decades, right? The whole, yeah.
Yeah.
It was, I'm sure we'll cover that in another episode, but that was, yeah, good stuff.
So good stuff. So yeah, Morelos was one of the main ones, and of course his wife, who, yeah, she doesn't get enough credit. She was just as important.
Yeah,
But
never
she's
heard
a
of her.
woman, so she doesn't matter for history.
Flowers.
I know. But yeah, so they both were from Michoacan.
Hmm.
Like you said, it's really surprising.
Michoacan, it's still very traditional, very similar to as it would have been in the days of the Purepecha Empire. The main industry of Michoacan is actually still fishing and agriculture. On top of that, it's actually one of the most ethnically diverse states in all of Mexico.
Guess which one? It's diverse.
Mexico City.
No.
Morelos?
No. Oaxaca.
Really? Oh, that
Yeah.
makes sense, I guess. Yeah, so there's we mentioned it was the seat of the Purepecha Empire. There's still a very sizable population of Purepecha in Michoacan, as well as, should I even try Otomi
Ottoman? Yeah.
Otomi.
Otomi.
and Nawa?
Nahuatl?
I'm assuming is the Nahuatl people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Purepecha, Aztecs, those traditional cultures that we think of being okay, this is really bad, but I have to admit, most of my life I thought that Aztec and Mayan people were completely extinct. I didn't realize they were still
Yeah.
around. Okay.
I mean, Aztecs, I don't think I mean, they are.
Well, the not in the wild.
Yeah, I mean, not where they originally were, which
Mhm.
is Mexico City. So they migrated back to outside of the area which used to be Tenochtitlan. But yeah. But yeah, the Mayans are still in the peninsula.
Yeah.
Mayan Peninsula.
Sorry, Mayans.
Yeah.
Again, very ethnically diverse. They still have very large indigenous population. They also have a relatively sizable, for Mexico at least, African-Mexican population. I know there's a lot less here because Mexico, like, after they gained independence, like, the first thing they did is abolish slavery, right? So, like, they brought in a lot less generations of Africans than the other countries, so good on Mexico. Like, the slave trade wasn't very big in Mexico compared to the other places, but it still did exist, so most of the African population that is in Mexico is in Michoacan, so that does contribute to the cultural diversity.
Did you like it? Because you're the one who mainly wanted to go. I mean, I wanted to go, but it was like your idea.
We already know you were disappointed by the
I was
small
sad.
turnout of...
No. I was sad. I was, yeah, like because of the environmental impact.
Yeah.
I care about the planet. So.
I don't, so yeah, I had a good time. No, really, it was a really good time. I'll try not to get too sappy with this, but like I mentioned, I do kind of feel like I have this weird connection to them because even though I didn't move to the place in Canada, like they went to Eastern Canada. After Santa Cruz, I moved to Western Canada. I've lived in America, I've lived in Canada, and now I live in Mexico. All these different countries that the butterflies migrate to, I've lived in too, and I think I'm very lucky to have had that experience. I don't have numbers on this, but I'm pretty sure most Americans, or most people in general, never like actually live in all three countries. So,
I have actually. Now that I think about it.
or both special.
But you were in California.
Well, I guess kind of the point I'm getting to this, an interesting thing about the butterflies is obviously they don't know borders exist or care about them. They've been making this migration for, what, probably like thousands of years before we got here. And not to get political, but obviously there are issues over like immigration and who's allowed to live where, and it kind of does make you think how like these butterflies have just been migrating all over the place, and now that I've been lucky enough to have that experience and live in all three countries and get to know people in all three countries. I mean, I can't really say a lot about borders and immigration that hasn't already been said, but it does make you think. Any other thoughts? We hope you've enjoyed this first episode of Exploring Mexico, Destinada's first series.
Thank you for watching.
Yeah, thanks for watching. Our next episode already in production. Who knows how long it will take us to actually get it out. But in that episode, we went to the zoo and also
we did that.
forest and a castle and
Chapultepec.
Reforma,
Right here in the
road
city.
that the French built here. When you probably don't know this, the French actually for about 3 seconds conquered Mexico. So we'll get into all that. It'll be a good time. Anyway, if you like this, then feel free to like and subscribe. Helps us out. Tell your friends, tell your grandma, tell the butterflies in your neighborhood.
And comment.
Yes, definitely comment, give us your thoughts, tell us what you'd like us to do next. If you're from Mexico, you can tell us what aspects of Mexican culture you would like to see us highlight. And if you're an ignorant gringo like I am, you can tell us what things in Mexico you know nothing about so that we can inform you on those. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Oh wow. No film.